in Canada that are redefining the definition of terrorism. Now, this is especially a drastic concern for the social justice movement, for environmentalists, for the Indigenous community, and for the Muslim community, all of whom I stand in solidarity with today. And if I can speak boldly, if we're going to talk about terrorism based on the very root of its meaning, then the first people they should be going after under Bill C-51 is the Harper government. I'm glad you agree. Because as far as I'm concerned, I've never killed, oppressed, or tortured anyone. And I really can't say the same for them, for their policies, or for their allies. Islamophobia is a growing problem in Canadian society. But the Conservative Party is not alone in ostracizing the Muslim community. Remember, it was also the Liberal Party who voted for Bill C-51. And recently, Justin Trudeau claimed that the BDS movement and Israel Apartheid Week has no place on university campuses. But at the same time, he has the gall to go to mosques and to talk about discrimination against Muslims. So, to quote the words of Trudeau himself, yeah, enough is enough with liberal hypocrisy. You say you're disappointed, I'm downright disturbed. Also, recently there's been discussion about dress codes for Muslim women. You may have heard when Alexander Boulerice said that the NDP is against the wearing of niqab, sharing Harper's sentiments. What I'd like to know is what other NDP leaders have to say about this and how they're going to respond. Because my initial reaction is stop policing women's bodies.
And I can tell Stephen Harper, right from the Labour movement in Ontario, that we'll be damned if we'll stop striking in this province. I don't care what piece of legislation you may hear us I'll remind you also, civil disobedience. It's got a long and respected history, both here and across the world. Martin Luther King comes to mind. But you probably recall, not so long ago, when Mike Harris was in office, and we had our days of protest across this province. Today, that would be deemed to be an act of terrorism. School teachers who joined us here today from their convention, they had a legal protest against Mike Harris that lasted for 2 weeks. That too would be deemed to be an act of terrorism. Now, my friends, you can see how odious this piece of legislation is. And speaking of being odious, let us talk about a few other acts that we know are definitely, in my opinion at least, an act of terrorism. What about shutting down our parliament? Remember when Stephen Harper shut down our democracy? Yes, there's also, there's a real danger here that those of us who speak out against the slaughter of the Gazans, about the indiscriminate bombing of people in Gaza, that somehow that act of free speech can be criminalized. That's a very dangerous thing, my friends, when we cannot speak out against the injustices that are taking place around the world without being deemed to be terrorists or terrorism. And finally, I just want to say, there's one part of this bill that really disgusts me. The whole discourse around the Muslim community, that somehow we're going to be demonizing Muslims. My friends, we cannot allow that to happen. I say this to my friends in the Labour movement, and now I say it to the community. Do not allow Stephen Harper to divide us. Do not allow him to divide us on the basis of religion. Do not allow him to demonize the Muslim community, and do not allow him to demonize Muslim women. We have to stand in solidarity with the Muslim community and stand up to Stephen Harper.
Makes us less safe by unleashing the CSIS as a secret police that can operate without telling the RCMP what it's doing. Just conjure in your mind what's possible. Conjure in your mind the infiltration of organizations where the RCMP is already there. They could be spying on each other for all we know. When the RCMP wants to go get a witness for a trial, they find out CSIS gave that important witness immunity. So they're going to monkey wrench, not terrorism, they're going to monkey wrench the existing laws we have for the RCMP to actually track down real terrorist plots, such as the Toronto 18 or the Via Rail plot. This bill will not make us safer. We must not fall into the trap of saying that our rights and freedoms are more important than stopping terrorism, because this bill will increase the threat of terrorism while at the same time, as a bonus for Stephen Harper, trampling our rights and freedoms. A real miracle going on here, because the NDP and the Greens stand in solidarity against Bill C-51. But the good news is, I don't think it was intentional, but I'm going to say it right out loud. No one said anything positive about Stephen Harper yet, but he's a miracle worker. I never thought I'd agree with Conrad Black on anything. I never thought I'd agree with Rex Murphy. There's 4 former prime ministers, 6 former Chief Justices of the Supreme Court of Canada, over 100 experts in law from academia and the practice of law, the First Nations of this country, united with the editorial boards of everyone from the National Post to the Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail and papers across this country, and the Green Party and the NDP, standing united to stop this bill. So what does that tell you about Stephen Harper's miracle working powers? We're missing one thing. Justin Trudeau, come on down. We need solidarity of the opposition benches to fight this bill. We need to make sure it does not pass. I agree with Peggy Nash. This in Parliament is now the kind of appalling bill, which is even worse than you think right now. Let me add this for you. Our analysis and law expert Donald Galloway from the University of Victoria has figured out what they're doing in Part 5 of the bill. It's to allow minister to submit evidence to a judge to get a warrant for a security certificate under the Immigration and Refugee Act without disclosing to the judge that the evidence on which the warrant is based was obtained through torture. That's also C-51. This bill will make it much more dangerous for those of us who oppose pipelines, absolutely. The RCMP is referring to us as anti-petroleum ideologues. I want to suggest there's a problem. Stephen Harper has conflated petroleum with patriotism. I think we know the difference. Our survival depends on getting off the fossil fuels. Every now and then, someone overreaches. They've had so much power for so long, they've been able to dictate anything they want for so long, that they make a mistake. C-51 is Stephen Harper's last mistake. This and Stephen Harper must be removed.
I refuse to accept that we're all the same. I don't want to fit into your system of robots and puppets. It pains me as a 17-year-old to even have to think and question about whether I'd ever want to give birth to an innocent child who has to carry all the evil this world has built up in its spine. Because what do I tell them when they ask me why the media is selectively and systematically biased? And the youth role models continue to roll them and stone them and send them in the wrong directions, but still, I refuse to allow the demons to take over. So from an early age, I will teach my son that it's true that some men may be soldiers, but to remember that all women are warriors.